Haribo. Om Ajnana Timandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manohistam Stapitam Yena Buddhaya Swayam Upagadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Savaratam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhasute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody. Happy we're to be here again after a long time here in Srila Prabhupada's office in Bombay. His eternal presence is here before Shishi Gaurnitai, Shishi Radharasa Bihari Ji, and Shishi Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. I cannot remember the last time I was here, quite a while ago. It's nice to see so many young faces. I see many of you are young. Young bodies. I guess we're old body. We hope we haven't got old mentality. Devotional service means ever fresh, never morose, always enlivened. And by associating with the Supreme Lord, one can remain ever spiritual, ever fresh. So I believe we're reading from the first verse of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Is that correct? If you do have a copy with you, is it on the board? Otherwise, you might like to follow the purport. Please repeat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Anuvacha
Urdhva Moolam Adakshakam
ऊर्ध्वमूलम् अधः शाखम्
Ashvatam Praharavyayam
अश्वत्थं परमव्ययम्
Jadangsi Yasya Parnani
सदांसि यस्य परिणामि
Yastang Veda Savedavit
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Urdhva Moolam Madakshakam
ऊर्ध्वं मूलमदं शाखम्
Ashvatam Praharavyayam
अश्वत्थं परमव्ययम्
Chandangsi Yasya Parnani Yastang Veda Savedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
उवाच
Urdhva Moolam Madakshakam
मूलमदं शाखम्
Ashvatang Praharavyayam
सदां परमव्ययम्
Chandangsi Yasya Parnani
चन्द्रांसि यस्य परिणामि
Yastang Veda Savedavit
यत्सं वेद स वेदवित्
Probably won't be able to be heard in this assembly unless you have a microphone. Oh, you have one, okay.
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम्
Urdhva Moola Madakshakam
अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
Ashvatam Praharavyayam
छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि
Chandangsi Yasya Parnani
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
Yastang Veda Savedavit
श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम्
Urdhva Moola Madakshakam
अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
Ashvatam Praharavyayam
छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि
Chandangsi Yasya Parnani
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
Yastang Veda Savedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम्
Urdhva Moola Madakshakam
अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
Ashvatam Praharavyayam
छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि
Chandangsi Yasya Parnani
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
Yastang Veda Savedavit Shri Bhagavan Uvacha I hope you can understand English. Yes? No? Maybe? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Urdhva Moolam, with roots above, Adaha, downwards, Shakam, branches, Ashvatam, a banyan tree, Prahu is said, Avyayam, eternal, Chandangsi, the Vedic hymns, Yasya, of which, Parnani, the leaves, Yaha, anyone who, Tam, that, Veda, knows, Saha, he, Vedavit, the knower of the Vedas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's a reasonably long purport. Please try to listen. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Krishna said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After the discussion of the importance of bhakti yoga, one may question, what about the Vedas? It is explained in this chapter that the purpose of Vedic study is to understand Krishna. Therefore, one who is in Krishna consciousness, who is engaged in devotional service, already knows the Vedas. This may not sound to most people to be perhaps complete or logical. One who's engaged in devotional service knows the Vedas. Prabhupada mentions herein that in this chapter, in fact, text number 15, this is the most, Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse more than any other verse in the Gita. 15:15, even more than Sarvadharman Parityagya, more than Dehinosmin Yata Dehe. He quoted 15:15 more than any other. One devotee did a research of all the letters, all the lectures, all the conversations of Srila Prabhupada, and he wrote down each time he referred to each verse. And this verse will have the most hits. Because it has various factors to it. It describes how by Krishna, by all the Vedas is he to be known. He's the compiler of the Vedas. He's the knower of the Vedas. It also describes his position as the super soul in everyone's heart. But in this regards, is understood that one who knows Krishna is to be understood to be the knower of everything. There's also mentioned, I think it's at the end of this chapter, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna says in text 19, without doubting, is the knower of everything. You don't need to know anything else. Actually, Krishna is everything. And everything comes from Krishna. The entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. And those who are from India, which is almost all of you, know quite well what a banyan tree is. Those from France may or may not have seen a banyan tree. They haven't even seen a banana tree, what to speak of a banyan tree. I think when I was a kid, if you asked anyone, what's a banyan tree, they would probably think you meant banana tree. We never heard of the word, never heard of a banyan tree when I was a kid. It's like, we didn't hear much about the rest of the world. Mangoes, I never saw a mango till I was about 18 years old in my life. Never saw one. I don't even know if I've heard of a mango. We take it for granted now. A banyan tree. Well, this whole verse is giving the example, the analogy of the banyan tree to describe our situation. Huh? Let's see what Prabhupada says. For one engaged in fruitive activities, that doesn't mean activities to get mangoes or bananas, fruits. It means karmic activity, huh? Where we're working, acting to try to get some fruitive return, some material result. Karma. Karma means activity which leads to the development of a future material body. Anything we do, even if it's good activity, or if it's called bad activity, nonetheless it's karma, or vikarma, but it leads to a future material body. And the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, and particularly this chapter, is to bring this sojourn, this process to an end. It's not to bring the material world to an end. It's not to annihilate our existence either. But it's to bring to an end our mentality, which obviously activity follows in its wake, to bring that mentality and activity which leads to our bondage in this world to an end. Let's carry on. The tree of this material world. Did I miss something here? I missed something. There is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end. You can't measure it. Even if you can measure it, the measurement's different by the time you've ended the measurement. It's constantly coming and going. The tree of the material world has no end, and for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. Srila Prabhupada tells a story of one king. This king was very curious. How is it? How do we get free of this Maya, this illusion? Maya is keeping us so bound up, entangled. How do you get free? Nobody could really satisfy his inquiry. He called all the court pandits and all the scholars. Nobody could answer him sufficiently. All of a sudden, one old blind man came into the room. He couldn't see, he was falling over. Everyone's get him out of here. The king said, no, let him come. The king asked this blind man, can you answer my question? And the blind man didn't speak anything. He just stumbled around him. He hit a tree, he bumped into a tree, and he grabbed the tree with his arms very tightly, and he screamed at the tree. Look at it, if he knew what it was, but he's blind. He screamed, let me go! Let me go! Let me go! Everyone thought he was mad. The tree's not holding you. You're holding the tree. Now this guy's crazy. But the king was very thoughtful. He could understand there was a message here. And this is the message, the same thing here. Those who are attached to fruitive activity, those who are attached to this endless banyan tree of material existence, for them there is no chance of liberation. Because we're holding on. We don't want to let go. You see a child, he's got something, you want to take it away, he doesn't want to let go. He'll hold it, even if it's dangerous, he'll hold it tight. We don't want to let go of this material enjoyment. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of the tree. The tree's roots go upward because they begin from where Brahma is located. The topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. So this chapter and the previous chapter, particularly the three modes of nature, describe the workings of this material world. They also give the clue how to get out of it. This process of extrication should be understood. In the previous chapters, it has been explained that there are many processes by which to get out of the material entanglement. And up to the 13th chapter, we have seen that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the best way. Now, the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activity and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. It's not enough just to become detached. Prabhupada gives the example, it's like you've got a cup. You're in a dirty atmosphere. The cup is full of dirty water. So you want to change that? You simply empty it, you have an empty cup. But there is every risk that the cup will fill up again with dirty water. We have to fill the cup up. The mind is like the cup. The material mind is very dirty, full of material desire, ambitions, desires for this and that, with all kinds of, let's say, inimical attitudes of pride and envy and lust and greed, etc. We want to change that. As long as we're covered or identified like that, we have to stay in this world. Here it says we have to cut down this tree, the banyan tree, a fruitive activity. This is the process. Here Prabhupada says by devotional service. But that means we have to fill the cup, not just empty it. It's not enough. We have to fill it. Full engagement in devotional service. Instead of thinking of material objects, we think of Krishna. You think of how to spread, instead of how to expand our material pleasure, how to expand Krishna's pleasure. This channeling, Prabhupada used the word dovetail. In English we would normally say to channel our desires towards Krishna, channel our activities towards Krishna, fill our mind with thoughts of Krishna, our body, Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachangshi Vakuntu Ganana Varnane. As Ambarish Maharaj engages whole mind, body, words, everything in the service of the Lord, we have to practice this. Otherwise we can easily come under the influence of Maya again. The process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed in the beginning of this chapter. The root of this material existence grows upward. This means that it begins from the total material substance, from the topmost planet of the universe. From there the whole universe is expanded with so many branches representing the various planetary systems. The fruits represent the results of the living entities, namely religion, economic development. Oh, you have it on an electronic screen. Sense gratification and liberation. You are very high tech. Now there is no ready experience in this material world of a tree situated with its branches down and its roots up. Usually the roots go down and the branches go up or out like that. But this one's the opposite. Branches down and roots up. Banyan tree. If you ever see a banyan tree, you can't tell what's going on. The roots are going up and down, and you don't know what's the branch, what's the root, it's all up and down. It's very bewildering. Very interesting, but very bewildering. We can, however, but there is such a thing. The tree can be found, that tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and roots up. You've all seen this, right? When I was young, I used to love taking photographs. I had a really good camera, and I would do this, and I would test people, which is the real one. I would take the one in the water and the one out of the water, you could not hardly tell the difference. You couldn't really tell. They look almost identical. It looks real. The reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire. I missed the line, did I? Yes? In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. Simply a reflection. It looks real, and it's based on reality, and certainly it's there, but Prabhupada says it's not false. The Mayavadis, they say this, Jagat Mithya, this material world is false. But it's not. Prabhupada says it's temporary. It does exist. It's Krishna's energy. If Krishna exists, Prabhupada says, then his energies must be real too, if he's real. And this material world, he explains in the earlier chapter, in the 10th chapter, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sambam pravartate. Everything comes from him, both material and spiritual. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything rests on him. Matak parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. The material world also rests on him. It's his energy, just a transformation of energies. And it has a temporary nature, that's all. But it does have its reality, the spiritual realm, which is eternal. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflective material light. And this is explained in many places, how the material world exists. His purpose of his existence is because of the desire of the living entity. Everything rests on desire. This reflective world is there because of desire. So by changing one's desire, the material world is basically, it's not there anymore. It dissolves, dissipates. By changing our desires towards Krishna, the material world is withdrawn. The curtain is opened. No longer is it material. We're seeing like a curtain. We can't see what's beyond it. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. That's one process, the Sankhya Yoga process. Other forms of yoga, they try to, cut our identity with this world. Not easy, because the living entity by nature has an identity. By nature, the living entity is a sentient being. We have desires by nature. To just stop material desires, to stop our identity with this world, there's nothing left in one sense. We just try to exist in a void or most Brahman realization. But for a devotee, no. We fill our lives with Krishna consciousness. There's no loss at all. Absolutely none. In fact, there's an unlimited gain. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. It's like you look in a mirror and you see, it looks real, doesn't it? If you didn't know it was a mirror, someone else might think it was you. We had a budgerigar when we were kids. You know what a budgie is, a budgerigar? A little bird. Something like a little canary. A little tiny bird. They sing, they speak, they can even speak. They repeat what you say. We had one bird in New Zealand, that was a cockatoo. They also can learn, to repeat language. So the devotees is in New Zealand. They trained this cockatoo to chant the Mahamantra. The cockatoo was always chanting. Well, you'd only chant when someone else chanted. Devotees would sit there chanting japa with the cockatoo. It would chant japa with you. And they also trained it whenever a person came in, a guest, Haribol, Haribol, you are not your body, You're a spirit soul, the cockatoo would say. Unfortunately, when the time of death came, it didn't chant Hare Krishna. So don't be a parrot or a cockatoo. Anyway, this little fellow, I had a pet. His name was Paul. I had a pet budgerigar. And Paul used to like, you put a mirror in the cage. They live in cage, you know. You let them out now and again. They're in the cage and they have a mirror. They love the mirror. They spend hours just pecking at the mirror. Pecking at them. They think, honestly, they think it's another bird there. They can't work it out. They actually think it's another bird. Or you see a fly in the window, you know. They just can't work it out. They just keep flying against the window. They never stop. They can't understand what's going on. And the budgie, it just keeps pecking away at the mirror, thinking there's another, it's actually himself in the mirror. It doesn't know what he looks like. He has no idea. He has no idea. Of course, human being, we may say, well, I know what I look like. The budgie doesn't know. I mean, maybe he knows what his body looks like. Doesn't know what his face looks like. Only by seeing other faces. It doesn't see his own face. We don't see our own face, really. We're just seeing a reflection of ourselves. And we're thinking, that's me. What I see in the mirror. Oh, my goodness, we look in the mirror. What is Prahlad Maharaj's favorite line, huh? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the most beautiful of them all? Me. As we look in the mirror, we think, we're trying to make, you know, this, that. Especially ladies, they like to decorate their face in various ways. And I hope you brahmacharis are not doing that. Whatever you are. But materialistic people do. They're very worried. They have a pimple or some wrinkles or something or another. Oh dear, my nose. I better have an operation. My nose is not very beautiful. They're so attached to this reflection. Everybody knows that example of the bird in the cage. You know that example? We do the drama. We used to. The bird in the cage. The old lady, she goes to an old antique shop and, you know, gets this beautiful bird cage. And puts the bird in the cage. And she spends all of her time decorating the cage, painting the cage, cleaning the cage, showing people the cage. Look at my beautiful cage. My cage is more beautiful than yours. It's the best of cages. But she forgets about the bird inside. The poor bird is desperately hankering for some food, but he's not getting it. And eventually the poor bird dies. We're like that in the material world. The impersonalists take Brahman to be the root of the material tree. And from the root, according to Sankhya philosophy, comes Prakriti, Purush, then the three gunas, then the 5 gross elements, Pancha, Mahabhut, then the 10 senses, Dashendriya, mind, etc. In this way, they divide up the whole material world into 24 elements. If Brahman is the center of all manifestations, then this material world is a manifestation of the center by 180 degrees. And the other 180 degrees constitutes the spiritual world. The material world is the perverted, Prabhupada uses here, perverted reflection. So the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness. And this is the key example. If you look in the mirror, even if it is perverted, you still get a reflection related on to that which is being, mirrored, so to speak. Huh? It might be perverted. You go to a Hall of Fame, Hall of Mirrors. I don't know if they have them in India, but when we were kids, we would go to the Hall of Mirrors. And you have them here? And one mirror is convex, one mirror is concave, or the other way around. And on one mirror, you look like you're so thin, you're hardly, like a matchstick. Then you got a head like enormous, like balloon. And then you go into another one and you're the opposite, you're like this and like that and like this. And you have a good laugh looking at yourself in the mirror, so to speak. But they're all perversions. The material world is a perversion. What we're seeing is not the reality as such. It's a reflection of reality. Just like the tree in the water, it looks the same in that case, more or less. Now, if there are ripples on the water, that's the modes of nature, which makes everything change. This is the perversion, the influence of the modes of nature. When that spiritual energy in this material is reflected, you may have seen, I don't know what they call, I don't know in science, but light coming down, it goes through a prism or something, it comes out the opposite way in many multifarious ways. The material is like that. It's through the modes of material nature. Everything comes out in different shapes and forms, different bodies, mental and gross, both subtle and gross. But it is ultimately a reflection, because we're turning our face away from Krishna towards, they say, the external energy. Therefore, we're under the influence of that external energy, under the modes of nature, and there'll be waves. It's not a pure reflection, so you get all this perversion in this world. Paul says here, perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Even though it's a reflection, it's perverted. And one of the biggest perversions. So the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness, but in reality, the Prakriti, the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Purush. What is this? In reality, the Prakriti is the external energy. Prakriti meaning the energy. It's the material energy. Energy means there's somebody who's the energetic. That energetic is the Supreme Lord. And the Purush. He's the Purush. He's the enjoyer. He's the controller of the energies. And that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. It only stays for a moment. How long does it stay? Just it's constantly changing at every moment. Never stays still. The mind, the body, the energy, the atoms, everything is constant flux. It exists, but it's in constant flux. A reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen and sometimes not seen. Things come and things go. But the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. In other words, we have to turn our attention off of this material world onto the real world. People say, this is the real world. Many times we go on Sankirtan distributing books or preaching, and people say, well, what about the real world? I mean, this is the real world. You're talking of all this nice thing, spiritual world. It's all very, esoteric. But this the real world. What about the real world? People think like this, huh? This is the real world. That's because they're in darkness. Just like when you're in a dream, you think that's reality. When you wake up, you know it's just a dream. The whole material world is like that. It's a dream. Dreams are also based upon real experience. They're perverted. The material world is like that. Yes, all the relationships in this world, all the desires we have, are perverted reflections of the spiritual realm. The relations of friends and lovers and family and so on exists in the spiritual realm. It's just perverted in this world. We see ourselves as the Purush. We're not the Purush. We may be Apara Prakriti, the superior energy of the Lord, but we're still Paraprakriti, But we're not the Purusha. Purusha is the supreme controller. We're not the supreme controller. We try to be. We have a slight, let's say, fraction of that tendency of the Lord to control. It's meant to be used to control our senses, not to control the energies around us, so to speak, but to control our senses and to use them, Rishikena Rishikesha, in the service of the Supreme. But unfortunately, conditioned souls don't understand this or don't even know about it, what to speak of understand it or apply it. They use their senses, they use their independence in order to try to enjoy that which is perceived. the material world, the reflection. They're like the budgerigar, pecking away at that mirror, trying to enjoy something which is not, is a mirage, probably use the word mirage in the desert. It looks real, and you keep trying for it. Probably describes we're like a donkey. You have, we'll go on here, asses, a donkey, and you have a stick on the nose of the donkey with a carrot hanging down. It looks like it is a carrot in this case. The donkey is always moving forward to get the carrot, but it never reaches it. It's stupid. We always try to get the carrot in this material world, but it's an illusion. There's nothing really there. It's just there, but it's a reflection. It's not a reality. You cannot enjoy a shadow or a reflection. Maybe a shadow is not the right word in this case. It's a reflection, but you try to enjoy the reflection. You can kiss the reflection. You can punch the reflection. You can rub it. But how much pleasure can you really get from it? You'll probably cut yourself if you hit it too hard. That's what happens. People are hurting themselves because they think they're the Purusha. I'm the controller. We're not the controller. This is how we cut down this banyan tree, by understanding this, that we are not the controller. Krishna is the Adi Purush, the original controller of all the various, everything emanates from him. Everything comes from him. He's the source of everything. And acting according to that understanding helps to cut down this tree of illusion. The best way to do that, practically speaking, is to constantly chant the holy names, the Mahamantra. Lord Chaitanya has given us particularly for the... We can't follow Sankhya Yoga, practically speaking, in this age. We don't have the intelligence, nor do we have the time or the peace of mind. We're so disturbed. Even Arjuna said, I can't do that. After Krishna explained it to him, I can't, my mind is too restless. It's more difficult to control than the raging wind. Well, Krishna says you can by detachment and practice, but it's very difficult. So the recommendation is Bhakti Yoga. Engage your senses. That's also detaching them, because if we engage them in Krishna's service, they're not engaged in Maya. So like that, we do the best way is to chant. Keep chanting, chanting, keep chanting, no matter what goes on, no matter what's happening in this world, no matter whether we're, man, woman, black, white, educated, uneducated, so what? It's all material. The real essence of the Vedas is to know Krishna. The essence of Vedas is to know that He is the Supreme Being. He is the Purusha. So we're practicing the process where that realization comes. We're accepting this. And we're trying to live our lives according to that principle. Even if we've not realized it, yasya hridasya, karmana manasa giram. Even if we're not actually liberated, if one stays on that boat of devotional service, one is considered to be in a liberated condition, because one is no longer bound by the laws of karma. One is no longer bound by, samsara, birth and death and so on. One is in a position leading to freedom from this world. That's the real point. We've cut down that identification, that attachment with this complex world, the modes of material nature. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. Reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen, sometimes not. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. When it is said that a person knows the Vedas, it is assumed that he knows how to cut off attachment to the material world. The Vedas are not, as many people think, a facility to improve our material situation. Generally, religion is aimed at improving our material position, going to heaven, getting free of karma, achieving material goals, etc. That's not the real purpose of the Vedas. It may look like it sometimes, but it's not. The purpose of Vedas is to bring this to an end, to free us from this desire for material achievement, and to awaken within us a desire for spiritual desire, a desire for devotional service. One who has adopted that is said to be, why? Because he knows the means to cut this bondage, to cut this tree down, or to cut the knot. Chindanti kovidas tasya kona kuryat kataratim. To cut the knot of material existence is karma bandhana. We're very bound up in the gunas, which means knot also. We're very bound up. We don't realize sometimes how entangled we are. It takes intensive devotional service to cut this down. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva prana. Very intensive devotional service to cut down this knot of reaction within our heart. Very strong bondage. Number 2, if one knows the process, he knows the Vedas. One who is attracted by the ritualistic formulas of the Vedas is attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the tree. Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, Vedaischa sarvera me vivedyo. No, what does he say? Trigunya vishaya veda, nistrigunya bhavajana. This material world, everything's under the modes of material nature. Krishna tells Arjuna, don't be attached to this. You have to, free yourself from this bondage or this attraction, the flowery words of the Vedas and so on. They seem very nice. Material attraction, religiosity and so on seems very nice. We have to go beyond that. That's just another form of illusion. Another nice reflection, but it's still material. The devotees, they try to put that picture of Krishna. They know the process. That's the secret here, of how to get free of this. The purpose of the Vedas is disclosed by the personality of Godhead himself, is to cut down this reflected tree and attain the real tree of the spiritual world. That by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, by Prabhupada's mercy, we have that chance here for this transformation of desire. Everything's based on desire, both spiritual and material. To cultivate the desire for devotional service, which is the means to cut down the tree, and ultimately the desire to serve Krishna in pure devotion, instead of thinking of material achievement. Spiritual life is meant to free the living entity from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Whereas religious processes, generally speaking, are to achieve those 3 goals. Whereas for a devotee, liberation, if understood in relationship to the Supreme Purusha, is there, but the devotee simply wants devotional service. One who's understood this, engaging in devotional service, knows everything. Simply by devotional service, one can achieve everything. Vedesha chav, no, what's that verse? Vedesha yageshu tapasa chaiva. The one who knows the process of devotional service is not bereft of all the results derived from all the other processes. He achieves the ultimate goal. It may take many lifetimes for people to come to this, but this is the real essence of the Vedas. The essence of knowledge is to know Krishna. And that means knowing our relationship with Krishna, knowing our constitution, which is to serve Krishna. So we can do that here and now and be in that, you could say, spiritual state of consciousness. Well, it's time up. I'll finish there, 8:30. Hare Krishna. Very enthusiastic audience, I must say. They're very participant. Not so much participant in the subject of Bhagavad Gita. More, I think, with their what they say is darshan. It's purifying. Coming before the deities here is very purifying. Even if we do have a, let's say, materialistic motivation or materialistic understanding of the deity or our own identity, etc. But what's really happening here, we think I'm seeing the deity, but Radha Rasa Bihari is seeing you. And by their glance, one becomes, by their mercy, one can become purified. The more we have a favorable attitude, of course, the more the effect will be experienced. But everyone gets the benefit of being purified by their merciful glance. That's why Prabhupada established, one of the reasons, So many wanted temples. People would come, take prasadam, hear the kirtan. He wanted them to also listen to Katha philosophy in the beginning case. But to take darshan, well, they say take darshan, we're actually the scene, we're the energy of the Lord. The energies of the Lord are all meant for His pleasure. He's the actual seer of the energy. We think we're the enjoyer. We see things and we judge everything according to how we see it. I don't like, it's this far away, and so on. But that's an illusion in one sense. It's seeing in the dark, as Bhagavatam says. What can you see in the dark? There's some reflective lights, but we don't really see what's actually there. Only when the eyes or the consciousness is purified of all material desire, it becomes automatic as the heart becomes purified through the process of pure devotional service. So most people who come there, beginning at least, some kind of mixed devotion, which will gradually evolve if they keep coming and you give the chance to everyone to render service, to hear Katha, and gradually they'll become attracted. That's the methodology. Step by step. Develop one's faith step by step in sadhu sangha. So you are very lucky, those who are sitting in the front section here, to be attracted to the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. To such an extent you're putting it into practice in your lives. If you make this your goal of life, that's the highest goal in life. Highest goal of human life is to inquire about the nature that's not meant for sense gratification. Most people think it is. It's not. Kamendriyani samyam yasti. What's that verse? Kamasya nendriya pritya labo jiveti yavada jivasya tadriv jignas. Human life is not meant for sense gratification. It's meant for inquiry into the absolute truth. That should be the goal of our life, not material progress. I see in Bombay they're busy making progress. I noticed that when we just came down from Wada. They progress very nicely now. The roads are so good coming from the Govardhan Eco Village, right? Fantastic roads. Took us 4 hours or more just to drive down. Absolute chaos. I was in Melbourne, in Australia, when he was telling me his grandfather used to ride a horse from their house into the town. Melbourne. He lived on the outside of the city. He would ride a horse. It took him 30 minutes to get to the city on the horse. Now he's got a car. He can get to the city in half an hour. Great, huh? It took 30 minutes before. Now it only takes half an hour. Fantastic. Where's the progress? Where's the progress? And people are living here, working there. They're living there and working there, and they're going back and forth like this all day long. 100 miles from your workplace. It's madness. And you're completely implicated in it. Everything. Implicating people more and more in Maya. You have to cut this knot. Loud chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So any questions or comments? You probably got to go to bed. You're all young boys. They make you get up in the morning here. Do you have to get up in the morning or not? What time? What time? 3:30. That's, God, dear me. Torture chamber. Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Are you a brahmachari? You're a student?
Hare
Don't
Krishna,
be
Maharaj.
shy. Loud and clear.
Okay. Maharaj, I just had one question.
You have to speak louder.
Maharaj, while practicing our spiritual life,
Practicing what? Spiritual life.
Does we come to any point where we are very sure that now I'll definitely go back home, back to Godhead?
Will there come a point where I think like that? Or we'll be sure we go back to Godhead? Will there be a point? You'll be sure. Well, Prabhupada said you can be sure to go back to Godhead if you stick to the process. So you're already at that point in one sense. It's just a matter whether you stick to the process. You will realize it when it comes. Things are realized when they, it's like, how do we know we're going to wake up? Well, you may have had experience. Others around you tell you're going to wake up. But how do you really know? How do you really know when you're satisfied? If you eat this meal, you'll be satisfied. How do you know? What do you have to do? Eat the meal, right? And you'll know if you're satisfied or not. Of course, yes, the devotee never thinks they're qualified, by the way. We always think we have no qualification. When we come to that point of giving up this idea, that I'm qualified, and so on and so forth, all the different false ego that we tend to have, etc., etc. You're already, in one sense, you're already back to Godhead when you're fully engaged in service. But there's this attitude we may still have. We may have an attitude. So there's a time, purification of our consciousness, purification of everything, Prabhupada says, depends on the attitude of the devotee. The purification of attitude. Back to Godhead, what does it mean? It means their only desire is to please Krishna's desires. As long as you're thinking, I am enjoying this, obviously that's going to be there to a certain extent, but the devotee is not interested, I'm enjoying this. They're only thinking how this only exists for Krishna's pleasure. That's the spiritual world. So that's gradually coming by following a pure devotee whose life is based on that principle. Prabhupada, you're situated in that back to Godhead. You're already, that's why Prabhupada's magazine, Back to Godhead. Chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead in this lifetime, Prabhupada said. You follow a pure devotee and you go back to Godhead. There's a degree, there's a quality in their, obviously in their following, but degree in their chanting, pure chanting. That will be clear, that will be revealed. Everything's revealed in due course of time. How do you know the sun's going to rise? Huh? There's a dawn, you can ascertain that the sun's rising. You see symptoms. You have to look at the symptoms. There are symptoms. There are symptoms also on the path of devotional service. Detachment from the material world becomes automatic. You're no longer affected when people, whatever, say this or that to you. You're not disturbed. You can see the symptoms in the Bhagavad Gita. They're mentioned in many places. In the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Different places you see the symptoms of an advancement in Krishna consciousness. And it's like, how do you know? Like, for instance, we're coming here by car today from Vada. It's not very far away. It seemed like a long way. But I don't know what the signs are. But if you see the signs, you know you're getting closer to your destination. So you can have let's say a map book, a spiritual map book, where you see various signs which indicate that you are on the right path, at least. You're on the right path. Detachment from the material sense objects and becoming less disturbed and more attracted to Shravanam and Kirtanam and so on and so forth. Like that, symptoms. Anything else? Yeah, an enthusiastic youth forum. Are you a member of the youth forum?
No.
No. Are you a member of a forum?
No, but
No.
I have been friends in recent times with those two fellows.
You've been hanging around those two guys, have
Yeah.
you? No wonder you got a problem. Share your problem.
Yeah, so my basic
You're going to have to really speak loud. There's a very
All right.
enthusiastic, competitive audience here.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And I welcome you to India.
Anything else?
Yep.
Okay.
I had a question like for 3-4 years. For last 3-4 years, I have been like wildly chasing money. I have been chasing money, but every time I have been losing it. And I come to a point where I realize that whatever I had was enough. And till date, I haven't worked upon it, and till date I'm losing money.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is terrible. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? Maybe you can do a whip around, and he wants money, huh? Everyone give. What is your name?
My name is Abhishek Singh. Abhishek Singh.
Singh. Abhijit?
Abhishek.
Abhijit. Wonderful. Well, maybe everyone can feel compassion on poor Abhijit. He loses his money every time he gets it. I lost all my money. Everything. I gave up my job. I didn't exactly lose it. I lost everything. Right? I wonder what Krishna's got in store for you. Maybe he's got something very, very wonderful in store for you. I hope so.
Yeah.
We think that, yes, it's a fact that this sometimes happens. It happens to anyone. I mean, let's face it, karma is a very intricate subject matter. And aside from karma, for someone like you who obviously has a spiritual interest, there's a higher purpose in your life. A higher purpose. Our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, when he was a young man, like most Indian people, you have your astrology done. I don't know if you still do that, but they used to. And it was predicted he'd become one of the richest people in India. In his astrology, it showed him to be super rich materially. But he never made super rich. Every time he got somewhere, it kind of fizzled away. What's that verse that Krishna takes away? Or for one who he really is, interested. What how's it go? I'm getting old, my memory is fading. But there's a verse where Prabhupada wondered, why is this happening? Then he read this verse in the Bhagavatam. It says that, when Krishna is especially favorably disposed towards his devotees, he takes away all these things. So you realize, I'm a failure. And other people say, what's the hang? Why are you guys hanging around with this guy? He's got no money. He loses all his money. If you hang around with him, you might lose it too, be careful. There's bad association there. But by association, people give up your association. This guy's useless, He's got no money. He can't make it, Sometimes that happens in the material world like that. Not always, but sometimes. Faithful wives never give up. But sometimes it happens like that. Now let's look at a higher purpose. So Prabhupada, you can see what happened in Prabhupada's life. He tried to make money even serving Krishna, working hard. He was working very hard, but only just enough come. I'll tell you a lovely story. This is a story of a tailor, guys who make clothes. His name was Somalika, and he was really a brilliant tailor. He was really good, but nobody liked his cloth. You know what it's like. Everyone thinks I'm the best. I'm the best singer, I'm the best this, I'm the best that. Others may not see it the same way. Anyway, this guy thought he was the best tailor, but he could only just sell just enough to exist. His wife was quite satisfied. She was a devotee. And she would say, no, don't worry, we've got enough food, the children are clothed. We're happy. What do you want to work so hard for? Just relax. Carry on. God is looking after us. Take shelter of Krishna. No, no, no. I want to become a billionaire, a millionaire, whatever it is. There's so many similar stories like this. So he thought, these people in this place, they do not appreciate my cloth. I will go somewhere else. So he did. He finally decided to go to a nearby town. He left, Mumbai is a big town, but he left Vada and he went to Mumbai. And in Mumbai, he worked hard, and in 6 months, he made, or 1 year, he made a fortune. He made so much money. I knew it was those people. They have no appreciation for me and my work. But here they have great appreciation. So he said, now I'm going to go back. He was like a proud man, going back with his wealth to his hometown. Wife family and friends and all the people of the town would see him, rich man. He made it. So he's going back, but it was a fair distance. There was a lot of traffic on the road, and he had to take a rest. Not so much in those days, there were no cars. But he had to take a rest. So he took rest, and in his dream, he had a dream. He fell asleep, he had a dream. This horrendous two people came into his dream. One of them said, which way round is it now? Karma, why have you given him so much wealth when he didn't deserve it? Well, because he worked so hard. He worked so hard to get it. I rewarded him. But now it's up to you. What happens? Up! What's that? Oh, he woke up. What's that all about? What did that mean? He looked in, he had a big trunk, on his cart. He looked in the trunk with all the gold. Nothing left. Not one single pice was left in the box. Oh my God, I've been robbed! He was devastated. He went, I can't go back to the town I came from now. I'll be the complete laughing stock. I've been away 1 year and I come back with nothing? Then I'll really be made to look a fool. So he went back again to Mumbai. And he worked harder, and he got 6 months, he got even more wealth. This time I'm not going to stop on the way. I'm going to go straight back to Wada, whatever you pronounce it. But somehow or another, by Providence arrangement, he couldn't quite make it, and he dozed off on the way. Oh no, and the same two guys came in his dream. The same thing. He woke up, oh no. He looked in the box, nothing left. Disaster! He found a rope. He climbed up on a nearby tree, tied the rope, put a noose around it, just about to put his head in and jump off. Suddenly, Providence appeared. Somalika, what do you want? Oh God, I can't even commit suicide. You've come again. He said, no, what do you want? You know what I want. I want wealth. Why? Because I want to be happy. You think you'll be happy with wealth? Of course I will. All right then. I will give you a chance again. You go back again to the town you made your money, and you visit I'll arrange everything. Don't worry. You stay with a very rich man. Then you stay with a poor man. So he stayed with the rich man. He saw the rich man was actually quite miserable. Not a nice guy at all. Miserable. He stayed with the poor man who was greeting him like his brother, and just a loving relationship. He was so happy to be together with him. And he realized there's more to life than just making money. There's a much deeper purpose in life. The real happiness which everyone's looking for cannot be found like that. Even if you use it in Krishna service, sometimes Krishna has another plan. Because we still have this idea that I'm the enjoyer. He wants to take this away. So Somalika went back to his hometown and lived happily evermore. And didn't have a lot of wealth, but he became devotional, and his life was peaceful. And after all, how long can you keep your wealth? How long? How long? Sometimes a few minutes, sometimes a lifetime, but not long, because it doesn't belong to us. It's all going to go. Better let it go to Krishna before it is taken away. And then you can become internally happy. That's all you can do. It's internal. Externally, we lose everything. Otherwise, you have your karma to go with and your attachments to go with you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, I don't know. You have time. It's 8:50. Oh, I don't mind, but you may be having to go. It's late night. Some early birds are here. You want to say something? They can go if they want. That's the last thing.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, in material world, we have to, go to schools and get attached to material education. So, if we are attached to material education, we know what are the effects of getting attached to material education.
What was that?
So, how we can, being in a material world, we have to study those.
How can we be in the material world and?
We in material world, we go to schools and have material education.
Education.
Yes, and that material education we all get attached to that.
Get affected.
And that affects our consciousness and
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
So
you're
how we
right.
can overcome means I have so much
It's
attachment
absolutely
for material.
true that by association we get affected. Well, you will be. So you try to purify yourself. When you come home at night, especially if you travel on the metro or something, or the train, you're probably dirty. You know, you got dirt all over you. Sometimes it's like that in these cities now. What do you do when you get home?
Take bath.
Take bath. So when you get back from school or work or whatever it is, take a bath. Not just a bath with water. You take a bath in Krishna consciousness. And before you go to work, you try to prepare yourself. I'm just giving practical thing here. As much as you can before you go to college or whatever. Try to remember Krishna. I'll tell you, when I was taking my final exams, my degree, I came across Krishna consciousness at that time. And I would spend an hour before going to college every morning. I'd never heard of ISKCON, but I was attached to reading Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita. I'd read for 1 hour before going to college, to heck with everything else. And I felt very peaceful and not disturbed when I was at college as much as before. So if you can, if you can before you go to college, that's your choice. If you want that immunity or that protection, you'll be much more protected if you have at least some time before you go to college of reading Bhagavad Gita or chanting Hare Krishna or both or whatever. Krishna, spiritual association before you go. Take the Bhagavad Gita with you to school or college. When you get a spare moment, open it, read it, remember Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna if you're chanting when you get spare time. Try not to waste your time. And after some time, you'll start seeing everything, even material knowledge is Krishna's energy. The people around you are Krishna's parts and parcels. The modes of nature, they're Krishna's energies working in various ways. You'll see Krishna's hand behind everything, even at college. And what's going on around you will remind you of Krishna instead of carry you away from Krishna. But you have to start by doing this. Morning and evening, take your spiritual bath. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Thank
Srila
you, Maharaj.
Prabhupada ki jai.